Welcome back to the last section of the ITESOFT Insider View that we're dealing with at this moment in time. My name is Alan Brown from ITESOFT, and I will be taking you through this last section. This session has been about the 5 things that you need to remember and that are really crucial and important when you're detailing your AP process. The first one that we went through is about defining the ownership of the process steps and making it nice and explicit and clear. Then we were getting into, in session 2, about how you handle invoice discrepancies and why that's important to be able to understand in detail. Third one was multiple purchase orders on one invoice. Why does that happen? Last week's session was about, can you tell me what the exact percentages or a percentage split is on your invoice formats and why that is important to be able to detail as part of your process. And this week's session is all about how do you store invoices? What's the cost associated to that? So, the whole reason of why we're going through the 5 things to remember when you are detailing your AP purchase to pay process is this is about your business case, your return of investment, and where the problem areas are, and as part of that, how much of a problem it is. So let's get into how do you store your invoices and what's the cost associated to that. So a lot of organizations that we speak with are and still have a reasonable level, if not a high level, of manual processing that goes on. Part of that manual process is they are storing their invoices manually. Some call it archiving. It makes no difference. It's what do you do with your paper invoices that you are going to store somewhere that you're going to need for HMRC purposes, you're going to need for your internal auditors, and you're also going to need, more importantly, for your external auditors to be able to review what you're doing and how you're doing it. So one of the things that we need to consider as part of this, that when I speak with organisations, and this is why we wanted to have this as part of the video session, that doesn't get considered as part of the business case. What's the cost of your AP staff doing the manual archiving, the manual storage side of things? Because you've got to set something up for that. And how often do they do this? Is this done on a daily basis? Is this done on a weekly basis? Is it one person that deals with that specifically? Is it something that gets done ad hoc? Or do you delegate it to someone outside of department to be able to deal with as part of that? Then you have, well, okay, you've got to store them somewhere. When we're talking about physical storage, so essentially we're talking about a filing cabinet that you need to be able to have. So that then means that you need to have the cost of a filing cabinet, you need to be able to have the space for a filing cabinet that's going to be taken up. Now, for a lot of organisations, they will go, well, actually, we'll only keep this year's, this financial year's invoices within our building. We might then, send the rest of them off somewhere else to be stored off-site because it's just physically cheaper to be able to do that. But you're still taking up space to be able to have that, whether it's on-site or off-site. Then you might have taken a bit of a step forward from a technology point of view by having it in the by having an internal document management system that you use. So what's the cost of that? For being able to use that. Now, it may well be an internal cost, but someone has that cost. It might be IT that has that because they've got to look after it, they've got to maintain it, they have to go in, make sure it's up and running. They need to make sure there's enough storage within that system when they may not have a good, clean idea of what's going on. But that's just storing the documents in its own right. Let's come back to what's one of the impacts of this. How do you find an invoice? What happens if you've got one of your suppliers, and this happens, well, crikey, probably happened yesterday for you, that phones up and goes, hi, I've got a query on one of the invoices that we've sent in to you. Can you tell me? And you go, right, okay, I'll go and find out. So where do you find that? How do you find that invoice? It's going to be somewhere, and you need to be able to deal with that. So, there's that aspect to it. When we then take that, extrapolate that out across, let's say it's just 10% of these queries come in, specifically focusing around where you need to find that invoice, then how easy is that? It comes back to my first point that we were talking about around the cost of your AP team for archiving. Now we're just flipping that the other way around of, well, they know roughly where to go, they might even have a system and process in place, but they still have to do it. And then while they're walking across, while they're walking back, I know it sounds really silly, but when you do time and motion studies in this, it all adds up more than anything else. Let's look at this from a slightly left of field. You have your, whether it's internal audit or external audit, come in to be able to review your process, your systems, and what's going on. Are there delays in that? How much time do they spend in there? For most organisations that I speak with, it's usually somewhere from 4 to 6 weeks that they will have audit with them, and especially when they are end of year results to be able to work through. So part of that's about, audit have said, let me have a look at this invoice, and you've got to go off and find it. That has a huge cost to it, because someone who is in the business doing their day-to-day job now needs to go off and do something around how do you find that invoice, where is it? And then of course this comes back to last week's session, which was about discrepancies and how you handle them, etc. Well, if you've got an invoice that's in a storage, it is in a filing cabinet, how do you know it's there? Because there was no reporting capability around that. It's just data you've got in your ERP, hopefully, that you're now going to pay this invoice on time. So there's no visibility of the process that it's been through. There is no real reporting that's going on with that. So when you then start looking at these half dozen different points individually, well, might go, they don't really add up to very much. Take it as a whole though, actually there's a huge amount of time and effort that's involved by your finance team to be able to put this in place and create the flow that needs to happen within AP. That has a cost associated to it. What we're looking at here is the benefits really of going digital. So, and how that then retrospectively impacts into your finance team, because that's where you're going to get your business case from more than anything else. If you're a growing organisation, and most organisations are looking at growing, they want to be able to take on more work, more business, but without actually increasing the team size in AP or in finance. So you want to be able to allow that to happen. That's one of the benefits of going digital, but we're not going to cover that today. One of the key things, coming back to storing invoices that we're talking about here, is if it's digital to start with, you've got zero physical storage costs, because it's already digital and is going to be stored in, whether it's in our document management system, or your own internal document management system, or a SharePoint system, or whatever it is, and there's lots of them out there. It could be even an internal drive that you have for this that's got some security settings around it. It doesn't really cost you anything. The cost of storage is incredibly cheap nowadays. More importantly, just coming back to my previous point about visibility and reporting capability, and this then also impacts into whether it's internal audit or external audit. You've got a full audit trail from the time that you've received that invoice to the time that that payment's been made, including the breakdown of that payment, of which invoices that covers, so your audit team can then see what's happened, when did it happen, how did it happen, who was involved in that, and they'll still have problems. The auditors will always come back and go, you've got, and you need to do this, but that's fine. So it reduces the amount of time that the audit needs to be involved with this, especially when it's external audit. There is a huge reduction, and potentially completely eliminating of the amount of time that your AP team use on storing invoices and retrieving that information back, because they'll still need to do a little search, but that search is done digitally. Bang, it's there, you've got it, as opposed to which filing cabinet it's in, Or do I need to go off site to get that if it was from a previous year? So when we're then talking about clear visibility from the full process, we now know from an AP point of view, never mind for your audit team, but from an AP perspective, where is it? What is it? What's happened to it? Who's got this? And where do they need to be able to send that access rights for someone in the business to be able to see an invoice when they want to be able to see that? Complete reporting across the life cycle of an invoice is highly important nowadays, because that's how you're looking to police, that's how you're looking to monitor, that's how you're looking to report out your abnormalities into the business to say, I need you to change what you're doing and why. You now have fact-based evidence to be able to go, this is why I want you to be able to move to going digital. This is why we can then run more efficiently and effectively as part of having a digital process. Thank you very much, guys, for your time in today's session. Hopefully this has helped you in being able to detail your AP process in far more detail, and why digital automation is really important for all organisations. It's all about making it faster, making it smarter, and doing it far safer than you currently are at this moment in time. Thank you very much, and look forward to speaking with you soon.